Hello, I'm Ed Woo. I'm an independent consultant now, as Mr. Kim mentioned. And good morning. 저는 지메요. Sorry, my Korean is not very good. I'm very happy to be here in the new year of 2025, to be back again. Last year I was invited, and I'm glad to be back. And thank you for Ms. Kim Young's invitation to be here to share with you again the ASEAN regulatory environment. Last year I was here to share with you the general environment, regulatory environment for Southeast Asia, for ASEAN markets. And I'm back now to update you on what has been changes for the last year, so that you are prepared for enter into this Southeast Asia market. Even though it's not a big market, but with 10 markets, not every one of them are regulated, but there are some mature regulatory environments, and there's been continue to have changes. So this morning, I'm going to be covering 6 of the 10 ASEAN markets. The rest of them basically are much smaller market, and also they are less regulated, and especially like Brunei, they're not even regulated for medical device. So starting with Singapore, which is the most developed and mature regulatory environment, and the regulatory authority continued to be the Health Science Authority, HSA, and they basically follow the European international classification of 4 classes of products. And their changes for last year was that there's a fair increase in July for registration and for the change notification. And the major change that they are focusing on is basically as the development of software as medical device. They have issued a new draft for consultation on change management program. So with software as medical device, there are recent updates on the software, and to help access into the market to help patients, they are focusing on how to streamline for change management. They're focusing on the total product life cycle approach, just like the US FDA and even like the Korean MFDS. The key is that you have to conform to ISO 13485, which is the quality management system, and also the IEC 62304, which is the software development standard. And the plan is that this change management program, CMP, the review of this program, or compliance with this program, will be done in concurrent to the pre-market authorization and approval and the change notification. That means that if you have a new software as medical device, SAMD product, that you're going to register HSA, then you can submit basically at the same time the change management program approval, which allow for pre-specified change approval so that you'll be exempted from change management or change notification in the future, as long as the changes are within that scope. Of course, there's with software, there's a cybersecurity requirement, and so you have to do risk, cybersecurity risk detection and mitigation. And then you also have to do post-market surveillance and provide the plan that how you're going to go about doing that. And also, you have to address the risk management for using third-party and open source software, like if you're using Microsoft operating system. And basically, once you have a change management program approval, then in the future, if you have a similar software product that have been developed under the same quality management system, then you can leverage on previous approval for future approval of this new SAMD product. So there's no additional fees for this kind of approval. So this is a way that HSA is looking at how to help SAMD product to get access to the Singapore market. So next is Malaysia. In Malaysia, the regulatory authorities is MDA, Medical Device Agency. And they also have 4 classes, but then they also have a special combination device classification. And this flow chart shows the registration process. I'm not going to go into details. Basically, is that just like last year I explained, that there is a conformity assessment by the conformity assessment body, which are third-party agencies. And then once they go through the review, and you have to apply for registration through the MDA and through there's the MD class system. So the major change in requirement is that they focus on a standardized approach in terms of cycle time, which is a mutual certification process turnaround time, and also the template for submissions into mutual verification report template submission. The intention is that the cycle time and the review process will be more standardized among the different conformity assessment body. And there's 2 routes, which is the full conformity assessment, if the product is new to the market, or if companies can go through the simplified verification process, which is if the product already have the approval from the prior GHTF marked countries or regulatory bodies like Australia, TGA, Canada, and EU CE mark, Japan PMDA approvals, or US FDA clearance or approval. And now they have added the UK approval onto the list because of the Brexit. Also, new development is that they have created additional condition for exemption for registration. If the product is only for export or imported for re-export, or they are orphaned medical device or obsolete and discontinued medical device, those are exempted from registration. And upcoming development is basically they have announced, as I last year, the MCAS 3.0, and they were going to have it implemented this year, but they announced that they will spend this year to go through the testing phase to work out any kind of issues, and then delay the implementation for another year to 2026. The intention is that they also have, as I mentioned, they standardize the turnaround time, so they're trying to have faster approval time, and also they have eliminate the requirement for re-registration. So they will follow the Singapore HSA approach. So when you rather than have to resubmit for renewal, you can have auto renewal by just paying a fee. The Malaysian MDA, under the the management of the new CEO, they have been very more open for consultation and discussion with the industry. And over the last year, they have held workshops. And one of the workshops is focusing on change management, and they get feedback from the industry as to which are the areas that they should be focusing on. And the one that they mainly going to be focusing on this coming year is a low effort, high impact, which is related to field corrective action related changes. And they're going to issue new work on guidance. Oops. Work on change management guidance. And so these are the things that we plan on working on this year. So we'll keep monitoring this and give you update as it get released. So moving on, Indonesia. So Indonesia also have the same 4 class, and the major change is that now the Good Distributor Practice for Medical Device, the GDP-MD, is now required for all importer and distributor. So starting last June. So it is a mandatory implementation, and it's adopted basically from ISO 13485. Another clarification is that the halal certification, which is based on the halal requirement, this is not just for medical devices, actually for all products that are going to be marketed into the Indonesia. And they have clarified that for products that have no For products that have non-halal material, you have to have label for it. Or even if the product have a material that's halal, but the production process doesn't meet the halal requirement, you also have to label it. And the requirement, there are phase-in requirement for Class A is 2026, and Class B is 2029, and Class C product is 2034. The major change is that for Class D, they have announced that the implementation is to be announced. So it's further delaying that. So which may be a good news for Class B product. The key challenges continue for Indonesia is that they also announced that the used product, the used medical equipment is prohibited. In addition to previously announced that refurbished and manufactured products are prohibited. So the other requirement is the e-catalog requirement, which is the system that allows procurement, online procurement for government public health insurance system. And basically banning the product import for 79 categories of medical device, and because of it require local content. And also allow domestic manufacturing product to be certified at least 40% of local content. Basically, they're trying to promote domestic industry produced products. For Thailand, and the part of in Thailand FDA, the MDCD, Medical Device Control Division, continue to regulate medical device. And the key changes is that they have shortened the review cycle time target. And so basically, for products without expert review, the time is reduced from 200 days to 120 days. And with expert review, then the time is reduced from 250 days to 150 days. And so even for class 1, it's basically you get immediate approval in basically 1 working day. In terms of submission process, prior to this year, I guess they have this, you can submit partial CSDT. CSDT is a common submission dossier template, which is based on the technical file that GHTF have recommended. And this is the same format, CSDT format has been used for HSA in Singapore and Malaysia. And if you have CSDT, you prepare the CSDT, well, you can submit to Singapore. Basically, you can also use the same submission for Malaysia. Now, Thailand is adopting the same. And used to be they have a simplified or partial CSDT, but since February of last year, they no longer allow the partial. You have to always submit the full CSDT. And they continue to have the regulatory reliance model based on Singapore HSA approval. If the product is HSA approved, you can leverage on that approval to exempt review. You still have to submit the full CSDT, but then you have a shorter cycle time from normally 150 working days to reduce to 60 working days, and also reduce fees for submission. And this is good for class 2, 3, and 4 products. And they have also created a new pathway, which is called concise pathway. It was last June that they implement this, and basically is if the product have GHTF markets approval, like the Singapore, if you have Australia, Canada, Europe, Japan, US approval, and now they have added Singapore, which is part of the reliance model, and also if you have the WHO for IVD, the pre-qualification, then it's also qualified to go through the concise pathway. Basically, this is for class 2 to class 4 products, and that, however, the approvals that you get from these markets or these regulatory bodies have to be going through a full evaluation. So that means that if you have gone through a expedited review based on, go through Singapore approval, through another simplified approach that does not include a full technical review, the product will not qualify. And also the product have to have the same trade name, product code, and intended use and indication for use, so that it makes sure that this expedited or concise pathway is the same product that has been approved from the other markets that listed. So also they have simplified the CSDT requirement. This is a list of the documents, and the ones that cross out are no longer required. So, for example, it's a safety declaration letter, and then marketing history. These requirements are no longer, documents are no longer needed. And for the expedited or the concise review pathway, they also require the CSDT. However, they have also eliminate some of the documents requirements. For example, design verification and validation documents, risk analysis report, and and also some safety declaration letter. So some of these are no longer required. So however, they added that some additional requirement, like I think the letter of authorization, and so you can look at it in more details. They have also issued requirements for AI, machine learning type products, SAMD, for Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, SAMD. These are all requirements, submission requirements that you have to submit for these type of products. They have also issued, as announced last year, the good distribution practice. And they are going to have a phased approach. And for the first phase is basically focusing on the, basically the GDP requirement is aligned with ISO 13485. And the phase one is requirement, which will be implemented starting next week, is going to be focusing on Section 2 of the requirement and the Section 3 of the requirement, which are resource management, supply chain, and specification. These are the only sections that they are going to implement for the GDP. And they will have a phased approach with, what I mentioned is these are for new license that focusing on these two sections for this year. And then the next year in 2026, for companies that have an existing license will have to comply with these two sections. So they have a multi-year approach to phase in this requirement. So basically, the local distributor have to follow this, be compliant to this. So Philippines, the FDA have same 4 levels of classification, and they have announced last year is basically a fee increase in December, and so that will have some impact. And starting September of last year, basically the previous requirement, simplified requirement of the CMDN, which is a Certificate of Medical Device Notification, which is a reduced requirement, no longer is acceptable. But it's only going to be acceptable for Class A type product. And Class B, C, D, higher risk product, you have to have CMDR, which is a Certificate for Medical Device Registration, which is a full registration requirement. And then those products that BCD class product that have previously got CMDN approvals will have to submit for CMDR before their expiration. So Vietnam, the last country in this ASEAN market that I'm going to cover, basically they continue to phase in their medical device regulations. And they have changed the name to the Infrastructure and Medical Device Administration, the IMDA. And the key change is that they are announcing an updated medical device law, which is the Ministry of Health plan on submitting that in December, in last month, to their government for approval. So they were, over the last years, many years that they have been trying to implement this requirement, and they continue to extend the deadline. And so the last 6 months, they have been trying to encourage the companies to register a product by reducing their fees to registration. As I explained in the last year, is that if the medical device regulation was issued back in 2017, and almost every year they have to extend because they are not quite ready. And now they mentioned that, I just mentioned that they have proposed, a draft medical device law. In addition, supposedly the current regulation is going to be, the deadline for implementation is end of last year. So beginning of this year, supposed to be implemented, but they're still not quite ready. They have a big backlog of registration that still require approvals. I think I remember it's like 3,000 some cases still pending approval. And so what they released the notification 7614 is basically trying, this was issued last month, and they were encouraging the companies that have submitted products registration that has not been approved. They announced that the product that already have import license that was expiring, that they will be extended to continue to, that you can use the import license. And that to have the companies check on their application to make sure that the application content is updated. So, and they would inform these companies that if there's issue or continue the product import into the Vietnam market, they need to contact them directly and see how they can expedite things. And just last week, before the end of the year, where the deadline supposed to end, they have issued a draft decree which is to extend the implementation deadline for another 6 months. So this is not yet approved, but the intention is that they will allow progress already on the market to continue. And this continues to be a challenge for industry as they are trying to work through the implementation of the regulation. On the other hand, they're also working on, as I mentioned, on a new draft law as well. So in the other updates are that they announced that they're going to have designated conformity assessment body like the Malaysia to review CSDT. And it's like for general medical device, it's going to be the Institute of Medical Device and Construction that's going to be reviewing it. And the IVD is going to be reviewed by National Institute for Control of Vaccine and Biologicals. So they also issue, kind of like Malaysia, last two decisions, basically they issue checklists for CSDT review so that to standardize the approach. That's basically all the update for the ASEAN. And also just want to, as Ms. Kim Young was asked me to update you on what is the impact of EU MDD, MDR transition on medical device entry into the Southeast Asian markets. And basically, these ASEAN markets does not require country of origin approvals, okay? And so, so as long as your product comply with the EU MDD, MDR, basically the regulation 2023-607 for transition, the Southeast Asian regulators will accept that, which is basically if you maintain the CE mark and use that for expedited review, you need to be compliant with these transition rules in Europe so that they will then, you can continue to use that for your market access into Southeast Asia. So the advice is that if you have CE mark under EU MDD, please continue to ensure renewal of this to the EU MDR certification. And the key is that also most of the EU MDD MDR transition changes does not, they really are just changes to the IFU and or label. So, and for Southeast Asian markets, these changes only require notification and no submission is required. And so products that have the existing CE mark label can continue to stay on the market because that's what's been approved. And if you have a new CE mark, a new label, then you require a license amendment before importation for these new products. So basically, that's all I have. And with time, so you have a question, you can always contact me or contact Sainex, and I'll try to help you. Okay? Thank you.